our cheerleader over there. Hi, y'all. Anybody here from Tennessee? Cause I was gonna say, if you from Tennessee, I'll talk slower. That's a joke. That's where I'm from. And I grew up, I didn't know that you're supposed to talk faster. Because I talk real slow, and the first thing they did is they sent me to Massachusetts. Can you imagine what a shock that was? To them, not to me. Anyway, good morning. It's good to be here. At my age, it's good to be anywhere. And Wendy tells me I have to wear clothes, so she does take a lot of fun out of things. But I'm supposed to talk about something to do with leadership, I guess. Anybody here a leader? How did you become a leader? See what happens? How many people went to a school to become a leader? See what happens? So I said to myself one day, I'm gonna be a leader. And I'll tell you how I did it, if you want to know. This is gonna be quick. I grew up in West. She hides her notes. She doesn't want me to look at her notes. I grew up in West Tennessee, the second son in a sharecropper family. And if you don't know what sharecroppers are, is that it used to be very, very prominent in the South. You would have a family of people that would move on to someone's farm. You did all the work. You lived in their house. You used their tools. And the crop was get planted, cultivated, gathered, and then you're supposed to get a share. My dad was a Cherokee Indian, and he never really got what he deserved because he didn't know how to read and write. But I think he's probably one of the wisest men I ever met. So a lot of the things that I learned in my early years were from my dad, who never even learned to read and write. He taught me things like, this is exciting. You can't unring a bell that's been rung. Like, can you imagine a 12-year-old? No shit, Daddy. Why would you want to unring it if you rung it? I didn't understand. He taught me a lot of other things. Some of them I can tell you, some of them I can't. But he was a good man. I remember one time I hit this kid in the head with a little bat. And I got in trouble. And I got home, had to tell him. And he told me, he said, well, take this hammer and this nail and go drive it in that fence post. And I did. Came back, put the hammer down. I said, now what? He said, when you apologize, come back and tell me. So a few days later, I felt bad about it, so I went to Wayne and I said, Wayne, I'm sorry I hit you with that bat. So go back and tell my dad, I apologize. He said, take the hammer, go pull the nail out. So I pulled the nail out. Came back, gave him the hammer, he said, and the nail. He said, now what's over there? I said, the hole. That's right. You always remember, when you're dealing with people, if you say or do things that hurt their feelings, you can apologize, but you can never, ever undo what you did. In life, that's a very, very important lesson. Because sometimes we say things or do things that could hurt people's feelings and we just go on like nothing happened. And words never go away. So he taught me that. I grew up with clothes that someone else had thrown away. Never lived in a house that had electricity. School was very difficult because we kept moving. And we moved, I think, 17 times while I was growing up. Part of it was because my dad thought he could make a better crop on this guy's land than where we had been before. Never happened, but we kept moving. And the kids in school teased me all the time because I went to school barefoot all the time, even when it was frost and when it first started snowing, and I had no shoes. And my dad would wrap my feet in a burlap bag, which had plenty of holes in it. The water came through, but I had to go that way until we moved to one place, and I'm standing out in the rain, and it's really freezing cold, and I'm in mud up over my ankles. And this woman called me in the house and said, "Come in here." She sat me down, washed my feet, dried them, put a pair of anklets from her daughter and her daughter's Easter shoes, cut the strap off that goes across, and I wore those to school. And everybody was laughing. But my feet felt better because I had something on them that kept them warm. And that girl that I took her shoes is one of my best friends today after all these years. She thinks I'm the greatest thing. It's only because I tell her all the time how great I am. Hey, somebody's got to root for myself. It's me. So I love myself. I think I'm grand. When I go to movies, I hold my hand. Put my arms around my waist, and if I get fresh, I slap my face. So in school, it was very, very rough. And all the way up to when we were going to be graduating, they took the seniors to visit colleges. And they would not let me go. And I wanted to go, and I wanted to go to college. But they said, "No, you're not going to college, you're going to be a farmer." And I said, "No, I want to go to college." They never let me go. What happens if you're poor, and they considered us poor white trash? You're put in a little box in everybody's mind. That was a feather that came out of the box. And was that the chicken coop before? But they put you mentally in a box because you're poor. And that's where they leave you. You try to crawl out, you'll be surprised at how they react to that. So we graduated high school. Everybody goes off to college except Randy. And I hitchhiked away from this little town in Middleton. I wound up in Memphis, Tennessee, and had no place to stay, so I slept in a shed behind a Toddle House restaurant. It's like a Waffle House, Toddle House, you know. And I was there for about 4 months till I could find some place to work. And then I applied for, the Army had a program that you could apply. If you passed all the tests, they would guarantee in writing to pay your way through college. And that's how I got to go to college. 6.5 years. Not saying I was a slow learner now. Don't make any rash conclusions here. I was just diligent. So when I got out of the Army, I went to work in the aerospace industry. I got to back up and say that when I was 14 years old, I used to ask my mom all the time to tell me she loved me, and she wouldn't tell me she loved me. And so one day, I said, I don't care if anybody loves me, I love me. And there's some things that I want to do while I'm on this earth. And I sat down and I wrote down all these things that I wanted to do. Number one on the list, I was going to be a multimillionaire by the time I was 35. And I picked 35 because the banker's son was 35. I figured he was a multimillionaire. He wasn't, but my wrong assumption there. So I wrote down, that was the first thing, I was going to be a multimillionaire by the time I was Jimmy's age. And second, I was going to have food. You can tell I took care of that one. But I overdid that one. So there is such a thing of over-accomplishing. Second, I was going to have my own clothing, which I always wore clothes that someone else had thrown away. And then I was going to go all over the world, and I wanted to meet people from all these countries. Look at you. Look at you. You're beautiful. We currently do business in 141 countries. A lot of people. In Tennessee, they use the word mayonnaise. You heard that? Mayonnaise, a lot of people out there. It doesn't get any better. So, I love you too.